Hey now, it's a Friday at Inside Texas, and this is live. Usually we tape inside the program, but we decided to give the fans what they wanted. We're going to give them a live show. I'm Justin Wells. With me, as always, is the managing publisher at InsideTexas.com, Eric Nalin. Real quick, you got to like that video, subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Help us get to that 10,000 mark. We are climbing that mountain on the daily. And also, come see us at InsideTexas.com. It really is the best time. I know we say that a lot, but each week is something new. Team reports, recruiting updates. We're always on the road. There's always something going on at InsideTexas.com. Eric, it's good to see you again. This is our take two, but that's why this is going to be the best. And we're just going to jump right into some team stuff. You know, you and I get this question a lot. I know I do this summer. About is Texas SEC ready? That seems to be kind of the buzzword of some sorts. And you know, you and I talked about this in pre-production, but what is it that you tell people? What is it that the realization that really can tell fans, listen, Texas is ready for the Southeastern Conference?
Yeah, I was talking to a source last night, and I asked him, what are the themes of camp? And he didn't really mention SEC until the very end. He was just, it was just kind of clear that what he was talking about was clear to me that they are becoming SEC ready. And, what he mentioned was the depth of the team. Specifically, he mentioned wide receiver, defensive back, offensive line, quarterback, and one more was it edge, D-line. So, having that depth, and he said it's going to matter a whole lot more in November than it does in September. Having that depth, every team's going to be banged up. We saw that last year with Texas, of course, in the middle of the season. They had to battle through a lot of injuries. There's just a lot more depth. This team is even more depth, which is more deep, which is amazing after losing 11 guys to the NFL. Really good job by Sark. The team mindset it was another thing that you could say has them SEC ready. They've really taken on Sark's lead and being obsessed with winning. It's what they talk about all the time. Their goal last year was to win the Big 12. Now there were some whispers they felt they could make the playoffs if things broke their way, and they did. But the focus was winning the Big 12 in their last season. This year, there's one goal: it's win the whole thing. That's the team-wide goal, is to win it. Of course, it'd be nice to win the SEC, but with 12 teams making the playoff, that's not a priority. Right? It is a priority, but it's not a necessity. So you could say that they're obsessed with winning. The goal is to win it all this year. Keep taking that next step. I think there's definitely some frustration lingering from how the last season finished. They felt like they should have played better against Washington. Yeah. And then the third thing that was mentioned is it's a physical team, and it's been a physical camp. Especially between the tackles, the two lines are going at it really good. There's just a lot of Anthony Hill, physical player, Barron Sorrell, physical player. Some of those new D tackles are proven to be physical. Lole and Bill Norton, physical players. Yeah. Colin Simmons is physical, even though Trey Moore's not the biggest guy in the world. He's physical for the position. David Benda, Maurice Blackwell. There's just a lot of real physical guys. So those three components have me thinking, hey, yeah, they definitely belong in the SEC, and this is the sort of program that Sark's been building towards since 2021.
Yeah, and I feel like, like last year you said that they wanted to win the conference, and this year the standard keeps getting raised every year Sark's there, and it seems like the win total keeps getting raised every year Sark has been in Austin, so it's understandable that those expectations are raised. Real quick, we're going to pay the bills, and we're going to do it with our man, Andre the Lawyer. This video is brought to you by that man. Listen, if you're injured, you got to trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and help thousands of Texans with their injury cases. We're talking about car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job accidents, wrongful deaths, God forbid. Don't let that insurance company tell you what your claim's worth. That's what Andre the Lawyer is for. He is a lifelong Inside Texas guy. He will help. He's located in Dallas, but he will help Texans throughout the state. Give him a call, 214-444-8808. That's Andre the Lawyer. Whenever you need him, give him a call, 214-444-8808. I can assure you Andre the Lawyer is SEC ready. So that's not going to be a question. Now let's talk about some freshmen. And, we talked about this earlier, like everybody likes to know who's next and what's up next and what's the next big thing. And as soon as you get it, you want to know what's next after that. You want to know what's the next big thing coming after that. It never ends. And since Texas brought in 18 guys early, I mean, I remember the days of 2 guys enrolling early, and that was kind of a big deal. Now you've got 4/5 of a class that have been going to school for 9 months.
Yep.
That's big. Tell us a little bit about some of the freshmen that you're hearing that are getting praised.
Yeah, with these guys being on campus so long, it's removing a lot of the high school projection. They haven't been high school players for a long time. We care a whole lot less about the star ratings and all those other things because we're getting a better idea of who they are. Just they've been on campus so long, they've been working out, and we're hearing a lot of good things about them. Ryan Wingo, he's been the number one guy all off season. Even before spring ball, we were hearing about him in the winter, and he's taken that to the next level in August. Him and Arch Manning, we hear about them after pretty much every practice. He's going to be good this year, but he's going to be great eventually. I think he has the highest draftable upside in the entire program outside of the two quarterbacks. So that's all you really need to know about him. Colin Simmons, been a little bit more quiet than Wingo, a little bit more quiet than Anthony Hill was last year, but I think we're going to see a similar usage to Hill last year, at least in the beginning part of the season, where they're going to bring him in rush situations, bring him off the edge, maybe bring him from a couple different angles. He's a pretty versatile player. But I think he's going to see his role expanded throughout the season. So not hearing quite as much buzz as Hill last year, but still plenty of good stuff going on with Colin Simmons. Anthony Smith, man, I got to give that guy some love because that's probably the defensive player I've heard the most about of the freshmen this August. He always ran well, always had a nose for the ball. Now he's doing it at a college acceptable weight at 220. He'll end up playing it at a little north of 230 eventually. But he's bringing the lumber. He's going to be a good special teams player this year, I predict. He's looking good on second-team Will linebacker. Maurice Blackwell's been dinged up. He's getting some more looks. Anthony Smith is going to be a future star. I predict that he starts next to Anthony Hill next year. It's going to be the best linebacker duo Texas has had in a long time. Kobe Black, maybe the second most I've been hearing about a freshman defensive player is Kobe Black, boundary corner, looks the part, big kid, plenty physical. Might grow into a safety eventually. That's kind of it might be out of his hands. I mean, it just depends on how big he gets. He's just a naturally big old kid.
Yes.
So maybe he ends up moving. I think I'm very encouraged by what I've heard about him being able to play boundary against these wide receivers. If you can run with these wide receivers, you're a damn good player. And then Jarrett Gibson, that's one that we want to hear about. And honestly, we're hearing good things about him even before the rash of injuries. What we were hearing was he's probably going to carve out a role on special teams. And now he's going to have to take on a much bigger role. But you like the fact that we're hearing good things about him already. If you can play special teams as a true freshman, you've proven to be a good mover on the field. The coaches view you as reliable, and you're going to have some physicality to you. We know that kid. Look at him. He's built like a rock. He's got that physicality to his game. Comparisons and play style, not saying he's going to be this great, but the name we've heard is Frank Gore as far as just being really nifty and powerful between the tackles. So there was a couple more in that article. People need to sign up to Inside Texas, go read more about it. It's not really my opinion. When I write opinion pieces, it's usually chock full of inside information because I'm not just staring at a wall coming up with the stuff. I'm putting these articles together based on a lot of information that we're gathering.
It was a riveting expose. Nevertheless, that's why you got to come see us at InsideTexas.com. It's still getting talked about. It was a really good story. And the truth is, with Jarrett Gibson, I think he's valuable, Eric, because when they get in the red zone and when they get in the goal line, you're going to have a guy that can punch it in. There's no Savion Red anymore. There's no different package plays. And Jarrett Gibson, to me, has the body pound for pound to hopefully be able to take on that role. I know he'd scored in a touchdown last Saturday scrimmage in a similar type of goal line situation. Inside Texas has been on the road this week, man. You were on the road. I was on the road. There's lots of stuff to check in on. We got a little bit of recruiting for the fans today, and I'll start off in Ruston. I was in Ruston, Louisiana, a couple days ago to check in on 2025 cornerback Aiden Anding. Basically it's what we've been reporting. It's down to Texas, Arkansas, and LSU. He gave us some really good insight, Eric, about, his decision's coming really quick. He said 97% chance he's going to have a decision before the senior season starts. I asked him if his mom was ready, and he said she's been ready. Naturally, when LSU jumped in, I think people just assumed, well, he's going to LSU. And there was some definite buzz coming out of Baton Rouge that could happen. But after talking to him, nobody keeps in-state talent in Louisiana better than LSU. Like, nobody. But Aiden didn't really grow up a big football fan. He grew up a basketball fan. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't necessarily have an affinity for LSU, for the Tigers. He really liked North Carolina for good reason. And so he doesn't have that emotional tie that I think a lot of guys in the state do. And just by talking to him, it seems like this might be a horns and hogs battle, because the way he speaks about the coaches at Texas and Arkansas is a little different than how he speaks about the guys at LSU. And not to say that they're not going to have just as good a shot, but I think it's because Texas and Arkansas built that relationship a long time ago. Tip of a cap to Terry Joseph. This guy had his eyes on an Anning before most schools. I think La Tech might have been his best offer whenever Texas came to call. And I know you're a fan of Anning, that this is a kid that I didn't realize how physical he was. Yeah. And so, and I know that like I said, I know you're a big fan of Anning. I think this guy would be a great fit at corner in this class. You think there's some room there?
Oh, absolutely. Well, there's tons of room. I think he's a great fit for the program. Obviously a lead corner. This is not a kid that you're going to ever talk about switching positions. He's a true corner. Yes. His game is all around game. His nose for the ball, his ball skills. He'll go up and get the ball. His eyes. There's a lot of him that reminds me of Jason Verrett from TCU years ago. Yeah, ended up being a steal for TCU, drafted in the first round, I think.
Chargers.
Chargers, yeah. He's Aiden's still flying under the radar, I think. What I really liked about what your visit showed us was the mental side. You showed that, you shared a video with me of him addressing the whole team after practice, and he was setting them straight. There's a lot of leadership qualities in that young man. You can feel confident that he's going to be a maximizer. I'm a little leery of Arkansas, man. I know Texas and Arkansas have been going neck and neck, and then LSU got in the mix too. I thought Texas was going to get this kid in June, late June, even before July. Arkansas is putting up a really good fight. They're definitely doing a really good job. And then you can't sleep on LSU, but we got to get some work getting on the phones and get some more intel and see how this one's going to shake out.
Absolutely. And Anning, he's got some of that leadership. That's stuff you can't see on a computer. That's why you got to go and see him, their eyes and their face, and watch him do it in person. Yesterday I was in Forney, Texas, home of the Jackrabbits, and got to hang out with Coach Fleener and top 2026 running back target Javian Osborne. On 3 has him as the number 1 tailback in the country, and for good reason. 5'10". He's listed at 190, 195. I wouldn't be surprised if he's 2 bills, Eric. He is built. Okay, you talk about a compact machine. And so just catching up with him a little bit. That recruitment's still kind of in its early stages, but Texas looks fantastic. They're going to have a battle because he's got 30-plus offers, and he is legit guy. Michigan, he mentioned Michigan quite a bit. Wisconsin's in the mix. He's going to be in College Station week 1 for the Notre Dame A&M game. And he's actually going to be in Austin. We reported this morning at Inside Texas. He'll be in Austin for the Georgia game in a couple months. And so the biggest gist there was, Texas, Tashard Choice, he doesn't go out. He doesn't go fishing for many guys. He has a very small, select group of players that he recruits, and he doesn't cast that wide of a net. And Osborne's a guy that he's been building with for well over a year. And just by talking to Javian and talking to his father afterwards, Maurice Osborne, who was absolutely wonderful, and I enjoyed that conversation and getting to know him a little bit. Texas just brings it. Texas is real. Texas is genuine. He loves watching Choice coach. I don't know if you remember, but we reported when he came in for a spring visit back in late March, early April, he popped in for a spring visit, and he got to watch Choice, coaching, and he absolutely loves it because he doesn't relate to a recruiter. He relates to a ball coach.
Yeah. And
that's straight from his head coach, Coach Fleener. And that guy knows something about football, about players. He was the OC at Allen with Kyler Murray and that crop. But Osborne, Eric, they're going to take 2 every cycle, and we have just seen 2 running backs be put on the DL for the next year in Austin, and how important it is for Choice to continue to develop those guys and bring in 2 at a time. We know they love Amari Latimer out of Sandy Creek, out of Georgia. He's kind of the big back of the 2026 haul, but Osborne, to me, that's the number 1 target, and I think that's a guy that Texas is in a prime pouncing position for right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Texas is going to end up getting him. It's got a long ways to go. There's a lot of competition for him. I like that he likes those Big Ten schools. That tells us he wants to pound the rock between the tackles. But more often than not, Tashard Choice gets his man. I don't know that there's a whole lot standing in Texas's way, other than they just got to keep recruiting him, keep doing what they do, keep appealing to him. So let's get to some questions, man. What do you think?
Absolutely. And one other little nugget that I liked a lot was when I was at Forney, there's 2 players you need to know about, Texas fans. Jordan Caraway, 6'5", about 305. He was 330 this summer. He slimmed down to 305. He had a great summer. He looks fantastic. 2027 starting left tackle. He visited Texas for their big man camp in June. Really likes the staff. It's early. He only has a couple offers, but that's one to keep on the radar. And Forney has a quarterback, a 2026 quarterback at 6'3", 215, named Nelson Peterson Jr. If that name rings a bell, he's the son of Nelson Peterson, who is the father of Adrian Peterson, the greatest high school football player these eyes have ever seen in person. Forney's going to make another run. They are loaded, and I think Coach Fleener and those guys, they've also got middle linebacker Kelvion Riggins, who's committed to Texas A&M. Forney's got some dudes there. But, yeah, let's jump up to it. There is our dude, David Williams. I miss that guy sometimes. Eric, do you think Coach Sarkisian using Juan Davis as the H-back, wing-back, fullback, flex tight end could be a ploy to get Michael Terry III committed and remain committed in addition to just helping out that running back position?
Yeah, I don't think it's a strategic ploy to get Terry's commitment. I do think it's a good proof of concept to show him what Juan's been doing in practice. The usage is similar. The body types are pretty similar as well, at least what I can gather. Yeah. Juan was a versatile athlete in high school, just like Michael Terry. Juan could have played defense if he wanted to. He had the mindset for it. I think Juan's just finally coming into his own, and it just happens to be fortuitous timing with Coach Sark to have Juan Davis as an example for how they can use Terry. But we're not exactly sure what Terry's ultimate position is going to be. It could just be slot receiver. It could be outside receiver. Kind of depends on where his body goes, like it does for a lot of these guys. But Juan Davis is going to be a pretty solid proof of concept for Michael Terry. We're hearing great things about Juan. We're expecting him to have a highly productive season. And don't sleep on Juan as a blocker either, from what we're hearing.
Yeah, Juan's a big. He's thick. That's what we talk about Juan. He's thick. We've got some fans, Texas fans, that are big Juan Davis guys. Michael Terry's is not. You're not going to see him in the running back room, but you'll see him probably tried out in a handful of other spots. Oh, let's go with RJ. Here we go. Brett Nelson. I haven't heard a whole lot on Bledsoe lately. Jure Bledsoe is who he's talking about, not Drew. We're talking about Jure.
That's because we haven't written a whole lot about him lately, Brett. It's been a quiet camp. It was a quiet spring for him. You keep waiting to hear great things about him. It's a deep room. It got even deeper over the last couple months. There's a lot of experience. 5 seniors on the team. 5 guys that have played a lot of football. Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton, who I want to hear about the most. And we're hearing good things about them, hearing good things about Lole and Bill Norton behind them. But yeah, Bledsoe is just, if we're not writing about him, it's telling you something without us telling you something.
It's a lot of times, we cover so much of it. If you don't hear a guy's name for a few weeks, people tend to think, well, something's wrong, something's negative. Well, sometimes the quiet is not a bad thing. Sometimes that means they're going to work, doing their job, they're being consistent. And sometimes we hear guys' names and it's not in a positive. So, I wouldn't worry about Jure Bledsoe, probably one of the most physically talented guys on that D-line. Let's see. I got Josh. Our boy Josh Holden's in here asking some questions if that's who I think it is. Eric, what is the plan if Phillip flips? And this is Cade Phillips, the 4-star safety out of Fort Bend Hightower. That would be a big loss, no doubt.
Yeah, really good athlete, really, really high upside. Well, the plan is going to be the plan whether he flips or not. The plan is to add Jonah Williams on the 24th. Texas is right there. I'm working that recruitment every single day. Intel today has me leaning towards, Texas still being in a very good spot. LSU is right there. I think A&M is probably third, but still in it. And USC and Oregon are pushing hard. USC is being quite aggressive. Oregon, we know how Oregon's aggressive. This one, man, I'm not sure who's going to pick on the 24th, and I'm not sure that who he picks on the 24th is going to be that. There's going to be some plot twists in this one. Sit on tight on Jonah Williams. We're going to keep writing. I'll probably have a couple updates this week, maybe one tomorrow as well. But the plan is to get Jonah Williams, and then like we said, they've got a much deeper room. That class last year, Landon Filsamy was huge.
Yes.
Jordan Johnson-Rebel has a very high floor as a player. Jelani McDonald hasn't even begun his career, but essentially hasn't really begun his career. You got potential of Kobe Black being able to move there or star. Safety, they'll probably add another one if they can. If they get Jonah, they'll probably and lose Cade, they'll probably still add another one. But it could always be a corner that moves too. What about Caleb Chester? That's a big old kid. I mean, they're recruiting him as a corner, but you never know how big he's going to get.
Yeah, Chester makes it a little bit easier. and also being in a good standing with Anding. Because think about it like this, there's so many dominoes in this stuff. If Phillips flips to LSU and they're selling him primarily at corner, that's a number buster in a way for Anding. He may not, he may look horns and hogs, or he may already sense that in some form or fashion. But no, it's a good question. It's something we've been monitoring for a little while. And hey, this cycle, I feel like we say this every year, but this cycle is just bonkers. Okay. Yep. And I swear to God, I say this every spring and summer, but I mean it this time. I mean it. It is crazy. Are we expecting anything from Aaron Bryant this year? I'm hoping some reps to keep those guys at the 25-30 rep per game mark. What are you thinking, E?
Yeah, he's going to play this year. Probably be behind Lole and Norton, I would think. But yeah, I expect him to play. He's a good, solid player, good run stopper. Not necessarily a game breaker behind the line of scrimmage. Not going to cause as many havoc plays, but he's a good, solid player. Hard worker. These guys just, start, even though he has guys that could play, it doesn't mean he's going to stop bringing in competition. He brought in a lot of experience. So Aaron Bryant is sort of in the same position as Bledsoe, but Bryant is more game ready. Yeah,
that's that. And stopping the run to me is the number one thing there. And so it's a great question. And I just think it goes to show you the D-line might be a little bit deeper than what fans were anticipating, especially with the new guys coming in. Let's get a couple more of these. I thought my boy Connor was going to have them ready for me, but he does. Okay. I was about to say I needed him. Josh Holden. That looks like a sneezy type nickname, probably like a Highland Park guy or something. Does Aiden Anding get moved up in the rankings for on three sometime his senior year? I'm going to answer that. Yes. Just watch his tape. He's going to move up in rankings. How much? That remains to be seen. But what do you think, E? I think he's already moved up in the last two. Each time they update the industry rankings, Anding has climbed up the last two times. I don't think he's done climbing. What do you think?
Well, I think he should be higher. Just once we got a good idea of the mentality he has and mindset of the maximizer, I'd bump him up just for that. But it's not like he's running 10-500, and it's not like he's 6'2". And the on-3 rankers and network rankers in general, they're looking for those NFL measurables. But if the guy's hardwired like Malik Muhammad, then you need to move him up just because he's hardwired like a professional football player. Part of what makes Malik Muhammad so good is the way he's hardwired. He takes the game extremely seriously, and he's a very smart player. And I think Anding has those same elements. And so, yeah, I'm hoping Texas can pull that off. I'm a big fan of that kid. I think he's got superstar potential.
Absolutely. Eric Davis has a good question here. Yeah, good. Yeah, look at Connor. Now we're on the same wavelength. Any news on linebacker from from California, Madden Ferry Emo?
I think it's pretty fitting that you're wearing an Orioles hat and this guy, Eric Davis, stepped to the plate. I remember ED played for the Orioles for a while, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously made his name. He was
a Cincinnati Reds guy for the longest, won a World Series. Was almost the first 40-40 guy in 1987 before Jose Canseco ever did it. Eric Davis was actually almost the first. Then he signed with the Dodgers as a free agent the same year Darryl Strawberry.
Yeah, what a great combo.
Yeah, that was at the end of both of those lines for both of those guys.
Separate those guys. Okay, so Madden Ferremo, man, I don't care how many times I get asked this. I just don't have a good feeling for where that guy's going to go, man. We talk to everybody. Yeah, that's part of the problem. Maybe it's not a problem for Texas because that was a Notre Dame lock, and then Texas gave him something to think about, and USC. I think Texas bought USC a little bit of time too, so now USC's trying to wrangle their way in there. I don't have a good read on that recruitment. When I have a good read, I'll tell you. When I don't, I got to be honest. I don't know how that's going to play out. Obviously, Texas has made this decision extremely hard for him. But he still has a soft spot for Notre Dame.
I think Johnny Nansen, this is where he can make his hay in this class. It's always tough for these first-year guys. We've seen it last year with Chris Jackson. It took a little while. This year took a little bit with Kenny Baker. I think it's kind of the same for Nansen. I kept feeling like Nansen will get one Cali linebacker, one West Coast linebacker. Yeah. It seemed almost natural. And then, like you said, Notre Dame was the far-off leader. Ferry almost committed to these guys, I think, in early mid-June. It was like that. He gets to Austin, and it changed the whole perception. And like you also said, I've heard USC is a sneaky favorite in this recruitment.
Yeah, don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on SC, man. That was probably the school he was going to go to. Grinch was recruiting them very hard, and the new staff kind of put him on the back burner. He didn't like that, and then they came back in a little bit later. So sometimes there's a lot of slack in a recruitment where the school doesn't get off to the hottest start, but because they had a natural advantage to start off with, they're able to make up for lost time. We've seen that work out for Texas a number of times. USC might have that same dynamic going on with Madden.
I think with Ferriemo too, losing out on Riley Pettijohn won't sting near as bad or at all if they land Ferriemo, to me. But if they don't, that's going to be a bump in the road, in my opinion. Antoine asks us, why not recruit Jason Stokes and Swade Griffin? I'm going to talk about Swade Griffin because I don't know Jason Stokes, and I'll just admit it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know Jason Stokes. Swade Griffin, I've actually seen work out and play a few times. That's the son of Cedric Griffin. He's actually a pretty good prospect. I saw him at state track meet the last couple of years. He's constantly competing. He's been on campus a few times. I think Texas likes him. I just think they have a handful of other guys that are higher up on the food chain when it comes to priorities. But Swade's he's got a good frame. Actually, he's got some, just like his dad. He has some good length, and so it'll be interesting to see where Texas goes if Phillips does flip. If they don't get Anding, kind of what the corner situation could be looking like.
Oh yeah, okay. I've watched Stokes before. He's a cornerback. Pflugerville Weiss. He's committed to Utah, so that tells you a whole lot right there. Morgan Scalley is as good at identifying defensive back talent as anybody in the country. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we should reach out to that kid, see what he's got going on. But I don't think Texas, Texas doesn't really – it was surprising somewhat when they went and offered a few more defensive tackles because the big board shuffles, but the names don't really change all that much. They may change places, but they don't really change. And so – they're going to stay on who they have. Stephen Houston asked about the LSU and Cade Phillips.
He came in a little bit late.
Yeah. Again, that recruitment was always a difficult one because LSU's recruiting him as a corner, and that's his preference. We talked about his preference being corner for a very long time.
Right.
The decision became very tough because of the fondness for Texas. Texas has a whole lot to add, a whole lot of value, and so it wasn't an open and shut case. All right, so. LSU still recruiting him hard. Texas is recruiting him, and here we are.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. I like this question from LL. Do you think Texas can flip the two defensive tackles committed to Baylor if Aranda is fired? Well, one of them is going to be on campus August 31st. Jackson Blackwell, the defensive tackle out of Lorena, he's actually going to be on campus to take an unofficial visit for the game August 31st. Honestly, if Texas wanted to flip both of them, they probably can. I'm blanking on their second D tackle commitment right now, but anytime Baylor has a guy, I think it's within reason that Texas could have a shot at it. But listen, they've been recruiting Blackwell even before he committed to Baylor. There was a relationship there before, and so the fact that he's going to be back on campus doesn't.
Oh yeah, that kid has really good tape. That kid, he's like Derek Loki. Yeah, he's like Derek Loki. He's a good player.
He does. I actually got to see him last year when I watched Waco Connolly in Lorena, and he was a wide body down in that lane. There was those gaps were filled, and it wasn't from linebackers. Like this guy is a big. I like that Loki. Comparison, and so he's definitely one that's on the hook. I mean, they need four. They've got one.
Hold on. The Concrete Cowboy. That is not. I'm not going Caleb Williams on y'all. I smashed it. I'm not going to tell you how I smashed it like an idiot, but no, it's not black nail polish. Come on now, Concrete Cowboy chiming in. The big man bun probably got nail polish on right now himself.
He does. Yeah. Wearing an American flag suit, head to toe. He does. Anything about the new defensive? Go ahead.
Did you get anything on these guys? I mean, I know the background on them. I don't know exactly.
I've got a little bit on one of them. Of course, it's the one I can't pronounce his name. He's the one from Grayson High School in Loganville, Georgia, committed to Florida. I got to catch up with him a little bit last night. We posted a little bit about him today at InsideTexas.com. Please come hang out with us. Please come check it out. It really is the best time. All I can tell you from just a brief back and forth with him is he's open. He is more open than you think. And granted, when you get offered by one school and commit 4 days later, that tends to – you may not be that solid.
Yeah. What I like about that kid is, Texas can buy its own time for a long time. He's barely played any football. He's just a giant monster with tremendous length, looks like $1 million and moves well. But they're going to want to see some actual tape. So it sets up perfectly as a perfect contingency to where they don't have to hurry and make a decision and go all in right now. They can wait and see how their numbers shake out. So, and then the other kid, Caleb Bell, Kendrell Bell's son. Kendrell Bell was 2001 Rookie of the Year linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love that kid's frame, man. He's like 6'3", 260, 270. Tons of room for growth. I think he's going to become a monster. It's going to take a couple years, but I think that kid has huge upside. Really good-looking athlete. That one is a little tricky. He committed to Arkansas. He's also from Georgia. He's from Alpharetta with one of his teammates, a defensive tackle teammate, also committed to Arkansas the same day. Joint announcement. So that tells you those two are tied at the hip. But both these two have something in common, obviously, right? Sam Pittman's on the hot seat, and Napier's might be even hotter. And if anybody's seen Napier's schedule, that is a nightmare to navigate for him. They could go 500, and he would have done a masterful job, and he might still be in trouble. So good contingency plans. Let's see how it shakes out. Quite a ways to go at defensive tackle. Myron Charles is still out there. I'm going to keep saying his name until
you have to, because Myron Charles is still going to be a factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
They still talk to Zion Williams. That's going to be a tough flip, but they still talk to Zion Williams. I don't think there's very much there with Brandon Brown. I don't anticipate any renewing of vows in that regard. But I love that Josiah Sharma is the first guy in, because even when we've talked about all these guys, that's the one guy we probably all agreed on was the one we liked the most, just because of his size, his upside, his tape, tenacity.
Size and athleticism. Myron Charles, I think, out of all of them, has the highest upside. Zion Williams has a tremendous floor, but Sharma's kind of a combination of both those guys. Antoine was a good question about potential Polynesian kids. Let's not forget, this is an underrated fact, but Pete Kwiatkowski has a number of ties to that community from his time at Washington. Yeah. So he's not just an also-ran there as well. So he's got some connections. Which was kind of, Jeff Choate had him as well. Jeff Choate did very well recruiting specifically Leona Lafau. But yeah, we expect that. It's just a matter of when they're there. It was a down cycle in Hawaii this year, and I think that played a part. But yeah, when those guys are available, Hawaii, Utah, sometimes Southern California. Southern California kids are a little bit different. They're more Americanized. They're not the typical Polynesian guys. You recruit them a little differently. But yeah, Utah, Hawaii, parts of the West Coast, if the player can ball, they're going to target them. Those guys they make really good football players, good culture, good additions culture wise. So expect Nansen to definitely play a part there, but don't forget Kwiatkowski as well.
Hey, JW Crunch, he asked us, did Loki go to South Lake Carroll High School? He went to Denton Ryan, and if I remember correctly, he was the first Denton Ryan kid to sign with Texas football. And Loki's actually a coach somewhere. I'm trying to remember where he's coaching at right now. But he's actually living the dream. The thing I remember about Derek Loki's the tackle for loss in the first Rose Bowl against Michigan. He climbed up that ladder. He went through about 2 or 3 different people, got him a tackle for loss. And I also remember he jumped in his class early. Like, I think he committed at the end of his sophomore year, maybe the summer before his junior year. It was really early, but he was he came from Denton Ryan, the home of Anthony Hill, Jatavian Sanders, Mario Edwards Jr., Austin Jordan.
Yep.
I mean, there's just so many dudes coming in and out of there. But for a year, it was Bear. They had Bear for Alex.
For a year. Everybody who didn't have Bear for a year.
David Sanders. Yeah. They had him, and he's playing in the NFL for the Denver Broncos. And so we love the De La Torres. All those guys are outstanding, and that's why we love Denton Ryan for sure. Eric, this has been wonderful. This is a good little Friday afternoon. Getting to catch up with you, catch up with the fans.
Got Strohs, take the wife and kid out to dinner here in a little bit, have a beer. Got the live behind us. We got what do we got tomorrow? We'll have the recruiting post in the morning.
Yeah, JB and Osborne. I'll have a JB and Osborne standalone in the morning.
And then it's all football scrimmage stuff. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 1:00 for another video. Hopefully, with We don't control when people answer the phones, but we should have scrimmage intel early tomorrow afternoon. Let's finish up with this one, shall we?
Okay. Manuel Soto asks, how do y'all feel about the top 5 breakout candidates with Cook being in there, Jonte Cook? I feel he hasn't received a lot of coverage of late. The first 2 or 3 practice reports, that was one of the first things I wrote was about Jonte Cook and just how well he was running with the ones, and that he was just really good route running, catching the ball. But there's a lot of wide receivers in that room, Eric. It's really hard. It feels like if we don't talk about them all, we're neglecting one.
Yeah, I think so. This is kind of a newer feeling I have based on some other things I've heard. I think he's going to play his way into a key role. I mean, we already expected him to make plays this year. That's, he gets on the field, he makes plays. That's kind of what he does. Yes. I think he's going to play his way into, I think he's going to end up making so many plays that he's going to end up playing basically starter snaps this season. So I would call that a breakout candidate for sure. The team's got a lot of breakout candidates. But, I think – and it also depends on who you're calling a breakout. Like Malik Muhammad, has he broken out yet? I would say probably not, at least not to national people. Us close watchers of the program to probably feel like he's already broken out. But, yeah, there's a lot of talent on the team, a lot of options. Silas Bolden isn't really a household name across the country, but I think he's got a chance to make a lot of noise this season. Jonte Cook, my latest expectation is I think he's going – it's too bad UT boy left. He would have loved hearing this. But I do think he's going to play his way into a key role. I say this every time we get asked about Jonte, every single video. That guy.
If I see UT boy's name, I start to think, what can I update to him with Jonte? What do I know what's going on with Jonte? And
hey, obviously everybody that was on IT at the time knows Williams David. He had a bit of a curse there where they didn't land a lot of his favorite players, and then he kind of broke it with these two. And DJ, I think DJ is a prime candidate to break out. Just so athletic and physical. If he just is a little bit more assignment sound, plays just a little bit faster from a processing standpoint, he's definitely got a chance to be all SEC. And Muhammad, man, he's such a smart player, technically sound and all those good things, but he also knows how to make plays on the ball. And that's what gets people noticing you, right? Like people don't notice the corner that doesn't make any big plays, even though that corner, if he's not getting picked on, is already a good player. Muhammad knows how to make plays on the ball, and that's going to gain notice throughout the SEC and the rest of the country.
To me, DJ Campbell's a good news, bad news. Because it's good news if he's all for SEC first team. That means he had a great year. That's more than likely the offense did pretty well up front.
Hey, we want him to leave, man.
Because listen, if he does, we've both heard that there's a good chance he's going to leave early. If he has the year we think he's going to have or the year he's planning to have, enjoy DJ, because this might be the last 6 months on the 40 acres.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want him to be gone for him, for his family, but I don't want it to be just an okay season and he leaves in the 4th round. That would be unadvisable.
Absolutely.
So I think he's got a chance to break out, man. That guy's going to do well in the combine. Strike numbers, he's slimmed down now. It's really his time to break out. I had him as one of the top breakout players this season for those reasons. 3rd year stepping into it. He's big, physical, leaner, easy mover, powerful. Power's going to match up in the SEC. I'm really excited to see how he plays this year.
I think the only thing that's going to hold him back, Eric, is his size. The tape is going to be huge. I think he'll interview well, but they're going to nick him for his height for whatever reason, and they're going to lose for it.
Hey, man, I mean, that's good. That's better for a short quarterback. I think he's got 33.5-inch arms. And so 33 is sort of the benchmark you're looking for. And you can even play tackle with 30. It's not ideal, but I think the arm length is going to be at least going to overcome some of the lack of height.
That and the athleticism. Because, man, if you want to watch, he is a bull in a china shop. And if you want to see his athleticism, watch him play basketball. He's a lefty, and he has such a soft touch in the post. He was big time. Antoine wants Cam Williams to leave. Also, hey.
Not in the 4th round. Not in the 4th round.
Not in the 4th round, man. Let's protect, the face side of Quinn Ewers for one season, and let's move on. Let's go from there. Let's see if Brandon Baker's ready to slide into that spot.
If he blows up and goes in the 2nd round, that's cool. 5th, 6th round, that's you don't want to start leaving for those reasons. But Cam, hearing good things about Cam, saying that we're hearing about DJ, slimmed up a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't run through him. You can't really beat him inside, and then if you can get him outside with quickness, you're probably going to run yourself out of the play. Because he's quick enough to get you out of the quarterback. And Quinn's doing a better job stepping up in the pocket than he has in the past. So I'm really excited about that right side of the offensive line. They should be able to run the ball pretty effectively, even with the injuries.
All right. One parting thought, our man. Thank you for our producer, Texas Homer, who is also a Denton Ryan graduate. I believe he was a 2-star with upside. And so we want to give him a little shout out as well. But really, hey, thank you so much, fans, for making us a part of your day. Like this video, subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Help us get to that 10,000 subscriber mark, because once we get to 10K, we're going for 11. Then 12. We're going to keep climbing. That's what we do. That's what we want to do. Also, come see us at InsideTexas.com. We have such a great community. You see some of these guys in and out on our YouTube shows every single time. These are really good people. It's a fun debate every day on the site. It really is. Come hang out with us. It's a good time. It's really the best time. Texas is headed to the SEC. They have as much depth as I can remember. They've got a quarterback coming into his 3rd year. Law of averages tells you that's good. That sets up pretty well. And I'm really ready for that second week game at Michigan. I think that's going to be the standard for the season. Eric, thank you again. Fans, thank you guys again. And thank you for joining us on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.